Most people spend their entire lives renting, while others collect rent checks every month and never worry about bills again. So, let me ask you something. What if I told you that I made $1,000 in cash flow from my first rental property? Without being rich, without owning a mansion, and without luck? Would you want to know how I did it, step by step? The biggest lie that keeps people poor is this: you need money to make money. It's a belief so deeply rooted that most people never question it. They work hard, they save, they follow the traditional path, and yet they never escape the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. But what if I told you that wealth doesn't start with capital? It starts with courage. In my philosophy, the starting point of all achievement is desire, and this story will prove it to you. Here's my promise for this video. I'll walk you through exactly how I bought my first rental property, how I turned it into an income-producing asset, and how I made my first $1,000 of true cash flow, all while living in that same house. You'll learn the simple framework that anyone can use, from house hacking to understanding leverage, even if you've never bought real estate before. Now let me warn you, not knowing this information costs more than you think. Because while you hesitate, others are building portfolios that print money every month. Every day that passes is another missed opportunity for compounding, not just in money, but in experience, confidence, and freedom. So if you stay with me until the end of this video, I'll show you the exact mindset, numbers, and moves that turned one property into a system of income. By the end, you'll understand what separates those who collect rent from those who pay it forever. Before we dive deep, let me ask a favor that will also serve others. Hit the like button and subscribe so this wisdom reaches more people trapped in financial blindness. Because wealth grows when shared, and the light of understanding must never be hidden. It all started with a duplex. I wasn't looking for luxury. I was looking for leverage. The property was small, built in the 1980s, nothing glamorous. 2 units, 1 upstairs, 1 downstairs. The listing price was $240,000, and I didn't have that kind of cash. But what I had was knowledge, and knowledge, when applied with faith, becomes power. I discovered something powerful: the FHA loan. With just 3.5% down, I could own a duplex, live in 1 unit, and rent out the other. That meant my total down payment was around $8,400, not hundreds of thousands. I wasn't buying a dream home. I was buying a system that would pay for my life. The next step was understanding house hacking. By living in 1 unit and renting the other, I eliminated my biggest expense, housing. The tenant's rent covered most of my mortgage. My total monthly payment, including taxes and insurance, was about $1,450. The lower unit rented for $1,600. That's $150 in profit, and I was living for free. But that wasn't the end. You see, wealth begins when you realize that every asset can serve more than one purpose. I looked around and realized I could rent out my spare room on Airbnb. That one move added another $850 a month in cash flow. Suddenly, my $1,450 mortgage was covered, and I was netting $1,000 in profit every month. But the real secret wasn't the extra $1,000. It was the shift in identity. I wasn't just a tenant anymore. I had become an investor, a producer, a creator of value. That's what the poor never learn. They stay trapped because they never step into the role of ownership. Still, I didn't get lucky. I ran my numbers carefully using what I call the 3-3-3 formula. 3% minimum cash-on-cash return monthly, 3-year break-even horizon, and no more than 3% of rent lost to vacancy. That framework kept me disciplined and profitable. I also learned how to use high-yield savings accounts and HELOCs, home equity lines of credit, to recycle my capital. As my property appreciated, I pulled out $20,000 in equity. which became the down payment for my next rental. That's how you build momentum. You use your money once, but it works for you forever. Then came taxes, and that's where most beginners lose money. But I used depreciation, mortgage interest deductions, and a cost segregation study to legally reduce my taxable income. The result? My $1,000 monthly cash flow was tax advantaged. I was making money that the IRS barely touched. Let me be clear. This isn't about real estate alone. It's about mastering the principle of controlled leverage, using other people's money, the banks, to buy cash-producing assets. That's the essence of wealth creation in every age. Still, there were challenges. I had a broken water heater, a leaky roof, and a tenant who once paid late for 3 months. But each problem taught me that success is not built on ease. It's built on persistence. Each obstacle became a lesson in leadership. The biggest turning point came when I treated my rental like a business. I created a maintenance reserve, automated my rent collection through an app, and reinvested every extra dollar. Within 12 months, my property's value rose by $30,000, and my net worth followed. The final step was mental, not financial. I realized that I hadn't just made $1,000 a month. I had bought back my freedom. Every rent check was proof that I no longer traded time for money. That's when I understood. The real return on investment isn't in dollars. It's in choice. You don't need to wait for perfect timing or for some imaginary right moment. The only right moment is when you decide to act. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll die waiting. And that's why I tell you this story. Because this isn't about me making $1,000. It's about you realizing that one property, one decision, one step can alter the trajectory of your entire life. But there's one truth I must share with you. Most people lose the game before they even begin because they chase perfection instead of progress. They spend months analyzing, doubting, and comparing markets, waiting for a flawless deal. Let me tell you something. There are no perfect deals, only prepared minds. I didn't buy my first duplex because it was perfect. I bought it because it was possible. I acted while others hesitated, and that decision created a result they're still dreaming about. Another critical lesson came with understanding cash flow discipline. Many new investors fall into the trap of spending their profit as soon as it comes. But every dollar your asset produces is a soldier in your financial army. Reinvest it, and those soldiers will bring reinforcements. I saved 6 months of reserves before I touched a single penny of my profit. That cushion protected me from unexpected repairs and gave me peace of mind, the kind of peace that lets you think, plan, and grow. Then I learned something that changed everything. Your network determines your net worth. I surrounded myself with people already succeeding in real estate, agents, lenders, and mentors who had been through market cycles and survived. I listened, I asked questions, I learned. The energy of those who think in abundance pushed me beyond my limits. If you walk with the wise, you become wise. If you walk with the fearful, you inherit their fears. Choose carefully who speaks into your financial journey. And finally, I realized that wealth isn't just measured in dollars. It's measured in freedom units. Every $1,000 I earned wasn't just income. It was time I bought back. Time to think, to rest, to create, to live. Because in the end, the purpose of money is not accumulation but liberation. And when you start earning from your mind instead of your muscles, you begin to understand what true success feels like. So let's recap the essence of what you've learned today. First, you don't need massive capital. You need strategic leverage. Second, you don't buy real estate for comfort. You buy it for cash flow. And third, wealth multiplies only when you treat your assets like business systems, not like trophies. But more than numbers, this was a lesson in mindset. As I've always taught, Every fortune begins with a single decision to act upon a burning desire. If your goal is freedom, you must think in terms of ownership, not employment. You must trade excuses for execution. That's the true law of success. Now I want to hear from you. What's stopping you from buying your first rental property? Is it fear or lack of knowledge? Leave your answer in the comments, because identifying your obstacle is the first step to conquering it. And remember this final thought. Riches come to those who think in action. So take what you've learned here today. And don't just watch another video. Go out there, apply it, and build the foundation of your financial empire. Until next time, stay disciplined, stay hungry, and keep building your legacy.